All right. Good morning, everybody. Hey, I'm Dave Dyson. I'm community manager here at Zendesk, and I want to welcome you all to our first community event of 2022. This is Achieving Higher Growth Through the Power of CSAT, featuring our speaker, Assunta Scala, from manager from our Voice of the Customer team. Once again, I'm Dave Dyson. I'm a community manager here at Zendesk, and also joining us is Devin Laspisa. He is a community engagement specialist, also on my same community team here. I'm in California. Assunta, where are you at? You in
I'm in
California?
Chicago.
Chicago. Oh, great. All right. And then we've got folks from the Netherlands, and let us know where else you're from here. I'm sure we got folks from all over. So today we're highlighting the importance of CSAT. This is kind of a best practices event. There's not so much about implementation of CSAT in Zendesk. We will have a brief Q&A at the end of the event here. Should we just get going? How about that? Does that sound
I think
good?
we should get going. I'm excited.
Great.
About CSAT.
Awesome. Let me bring up the old slides here, and get us on the first slide there.
Great. While Dave is doing that, actually, I'll just do a quick intro, a little bit about me. As Dave introduced me, I'm a VO manager here at Zendesk. I wanted to know that you're in good hands here. I'm really excited to share some of my expertise and wisdom. I have over 18 years of experience in the VOC field. I've worked in various industries, B2C, and also B2B. So super excited to be invited to talk to you all today. Okay, let's get started. If you don't mind, going on to the next slide. All right, so I'm going to start here. Things off, I wanted to share this. I'm sharing this because A, it made me laugh, and then B, because I just thought it was a really important reminder when it comes to measuring customer satisfaction and collecting customer feedback. So many companies out there are committed to listening and then don't do anything with that rich feedback. So if you take anything away from today's session, please leave with this: a commitment to really being customer focused and a commitment to really delving in to really understanding your customers' wants and needs and really being committed to taking action on that rich feedback. I'm going to go on to the next slide, please. All right, so I'm going to go over why measure customer satisfaction, how to measure customer satisfaction, and then how to improve customer satisfaction. So to kick this off, what is customer satisfaction? So customer satisfaction is a measurement of how happy a customer is with your business, product, or service. It's measured through a CSAT survey that ultimately has the goal of finding out how your customers are feeling. Go on to the next slide. Thank you. So why is customer satisfaction so important? So at the end of the day, customers drive business. It's one of the most important indicators of purchase intentions, retention, and customer. At the end of the day, for a business, it's really crucial to keep on listening to your customers so that you can really grow and evolve. So I'm going to delve into 4 key reasons why customer satisfaction is so important. And I'm going to go into each of these reasons around happy customers, dissatisfaction, consistency, and then just keeping up with your customer expectations. So happy customers, loyalty. So common business wisdom tells you it's so much easier to keep customers than to go out there and attain new customers. So keeping your customers happy in the long run really is good business. So recent CX trends show that 62% of customers will recommend to a friend if great service is provided. 75% of customers are then willing to spend more. So again, in the long run, really good business in keeping your customers happy. And you can do this with really understanding your customer drivers. What is driving customer satisfaction, and what can you be doing to really drive customer satisfaction? 2, customer dissatisfaction is costly. Once again, our Zendesk CX trends show that 50% of customers will switch to a competitor after one bad experience. 80% of customers will switch to a competitor after more than one bad experience. So if you take a step back and just think about that, there are a lot of stats out there around this subject matter, and it really is grim to think that just that one bad experience. Really, something I wanted to share today was just like an experience I just had with one of my favorite retailers. A retailer that, as long as I've been a professional, especially in my early days, probably spending a large of my salary shopping at this retailer. And I just recently had this experience. It's very timely, and basically, I typically buy a lot of staples for my wardrobe from this retailer. So I went and I purchased these pants that I purchased probably once a year. And I bought them at the end of the summer, and they sat there until temperatures changed here in Chicago. I then went to try on these pants, to wear them for the first time, actually. And guess what? Huge hole right in the middle of the pants. So immediately I'm like, oh, great. I'm not sure. I usually trust this brand. It's usually don't have a problem with quality. It's one of those things. I then look for a receipt, can't find the receipt. And then I immediately remember the policy of this company. And this particular company is very, very strict about have a receipt. So again, I have a pair of pants with a huge hole in them, right? So I go back to this retailer with the pants with the huge hole. And guess what? They then turn around to me and say, because I don't have a receipt, they can only exchange these pants. They cannot give me a refund and only exchange. So I thought, okay, exchange. I'll trust. The next pair of pants will be fine. They bring out the pair of pants to exchange, and I was like, wait a second, before you put them in the bag, because they were about to put it in the bag, can I just check out the pants, because now you have me a little bit as to quality. And I look at the pants, and you already know where this is going, right? Look at the pants, huge hole in the pants. So I was going to exchange a pair of pants with a hole in them with another pair of pants with a hole in them. And I was like, oh my goodness, like, look, obviously there must be some defect in this product for this to happen more than once in the exact same place. The manager's called over, and basically the manager apologizes and says, sorry, company policy is that we can't give you a refund because that is our company policy. Here, this is, again, that for over 18 years, I've been so loyal promoting the brand. And here I am in a situation where I will say there is a thin line between love and hate, because I love this brand at this point that I don't know if I can bring myself shop again at this brand. So just wanted to share that story. I don't know if anyone else out there, just to make this a little bit more interactive, has a story that they would like to share. I'll give you a second if anyone wants to pop in and share a story.
I think maybe while we're waiting, I definitely feel your pain for sure. And I feel like I'm kind of that way with like food and restaurants, where like I will go and I will patron you over and over again. But there was this restaurant that sells Thai food that I really loved. Yeah. And they gave my order to somebody else that I was going to pick up. And I was like, okay, well, what do you want me to do? And they're like, well, why don't we just wait for them to get back? And I'm like, we're in the middle of COVID. I don't want anyone touching my food and giving it back to me. And they're like, well, we can't give you a refund. And I'm like, yeah. this is not my mistake. This is your mistake. And they were
Right.
like, nah. So I was like, okay, I don't want the food. We're done here. And I haven't gone back since. And
yeah,
it was,
and it
it
amazes
was a hard thing to handle too at the moment.
No,
I feel so
it really
sad.
amazes me in this day and age that companies, and some big companies, sometimes employers are acting a certain way because of company policies. Are there policies that are so black and white that you're not enabling your employees to do the right thing? That often is a barrier. Or it could be a process. Maybe, I don't know, maybe their point of sales machine is old and it's complicated to do a refund. So because of these barriers, they're not doing the right thing. And in this day and age, as we can see from these stats, it's so costly. So bringing it back to kind of why, by measuring customer satisfaction, how does it help? Well, by measuring customer satisfaction, you can also identify factors of dissatisfaction. And then by doing so, then you can implement the necessary improvement initiatives before customers churn. Great. The 3 C's of customer satisfaction: consistency, consistency, consistency. So I recently read a great study from McKinsey & Company, which I know that Dave will be sharing with the audience. And I love this because it doesn't sound very sexy, but at the end of the day, consistency really is a secret ingredient when it comes to delivering highly satisfying experiences. And this article really kind of sums up 3 keys around delivering on consistency. The first being around customer journey, consistently delivering across customer journeys. So the idea here is in the world that we live in today, that is so kind of multi-touch, multi-journey, is to consistently be delivering at every touch point on experiences. The second key was around creating kind of an emotional tie with your customers. And what this then explores is really the fact that by delivering good experiences, you are kind of fostering a relationship of trust with your customers. So this emotional tie of, I can trust you because, and I think where Devin was going with the restaurants, and people feel like this about restaurants, especially when you think about, where am I going to go to for a celebration, for example? Oftentimes, onto places or that that you can trust, that you're going to have a great experience, a memorable experience. So again, fostering this idea of consistently delivering good experiences fosters this idea of trust and relationship with your customers. And then the last area was around communication. And this is something that I often actually preach a lot about, is definitely deliver on the experiences that you are communicating that you're going to be delivering with your customers. So practice what you preach is another way of putting it, but around communication consistency.
Awesome. And I did go ahead and share a link to that McKinsey article, the 3 C's of customer satisfaction, in the chat. So feel free to click through to that and read that at your leisure.
Thank you. And the 4th area is around keeping up with customer expectations. So by measuring ongoing customer satisfaction, it's definitely a way to keep up with what are your customers thinking, how things are evolving. Customers are constantly changing. This was from a Zendesk CX blog, showing that 65% of customers have higher expectations of customer service today than they did 3 to 5 years ago. And this is always changing. This stat is always increasing. So definitely a way of keeping up with your customers. You can use the feedback to influence product roadmaps, really keep in tune with your customers' wants and needs as they change.
And there's a link to a blog post on that as well. Thanks for giving us that.
Awesome. All right, so I'm going to just pause there. So before I delve into how to measure customer satisfaction, just want to check in and see if there are any questions or anything that anyone would like to share so far.
And for those who didn't see my message earlier, we do have the Q&A section open. So if you do have a question that pops into your mind that you want to ask, feel free to go ahead and share it there. And we'll make sure that we go ahead and address any questions before the end of the event. But I will share that throughout this event, I'm just shaking my head thinking, yeah, that's me. Yeah, that's absolutely me. And it's funny because I think my favorite retailers and people I actually do business with are ones that I have zero friction with any negative experience. And I think that's one of the reasons why I do Amazon so much, unfortunately, is because they have such a high profit, they can afford to just have me like ping them all the time for anything I want and just give it to me because it's in their best interest. So
yes, make that purchase, but then it's also really easy to make the returns. They've made that process just as easy.
And it's so customized for me, and anytime I reach out to them, it's a yes. So that's kind of like my big driver. And Benjamin, just to answer your question, yes, this presentation will be sent out to everyone who attended. We'll also include a link to it in the YouTube recording. So it will be there too if you missed the email or don't have it. But yeah, we'll go ahead and get this out to everyone who attended today or registered today.
Great. Okay, so gonna kind of now delve into how to measure customer satisfaction. So in this section, I'm gonna really kind of go through some best practices, some tips around this meaty subject. So measuring customer satisfaction, as I've mentioned, every method of collecting data on customer satisfaction comes down to a customer survey. I wanted to kind of illustrate that there is two kind of primary ways of going about this via a survey. And one is a relationship type survey. And you're measuring overarching satisfaction with your brand, with the company, with experiences. Meanwhile, a touch point, measuring at a touch point is more so transactional in nature. It is based on a specific interaction. For example, a purchase, or after post a call, or a specific interaction on your website. For example, you're in the community, and then after that experience, there's a follow-up to take a survey to see how that interaction went place. So the way to think of these two kind of measurements are very, very much relationship is very overall, overarching, and the touch point is very purposeful about a specific interaction. Sorry, before I move on, I wanted to point that out too, because oftentimes this is also an area which could be a little bit of a pitfall, that sometimes people will ask questions at the end of a specific interaction, and they will ask very overarching questions, which can be very confusing to the person who's taken the survey, because I just had this specific interaction with you. The interaction is top of mind. I'm thinking about that specific interaction, yet the questions around overall arching experiences. So just calling this out to be very mindful with the type of survey and when you're delivering that survey. Okay, thank you. I could do a whole session on this if you want me to come back at a later stage, but I thought I would start with 3 tips around surveys that have really been helpful to me throughout my. So tip number 1 is to begin every survey with a goal in mind. So have an objective. What are you trying to capture? What are you trying to learn from this survey? What is it that you are trying to start there? Then the right metrics will kind of follow that. Oftentimes people start with the metric and versus the objective. And I really with that objective in mind as a very first step. Second tip is basically to keep survey questions simple and short. Again, avoid repetitive questions, keep the questions very direct, and I would also avoid restrictive answers. So having an option kind of solves for this. Never list out a bunch of options that you're kind of enforcing where you end up forcing the respondent to pick an option that perhaps isn't applicable to them. So another option is a great way to eliminate this. And then the third tip is to use open-ended questions to get into more detail. So an open-ended question is a comment box. And this is a great technique that should always be used to really get to understanding what customers really mean behind their ratings. So just imagine if you had a survey where you just ask a rating question. So you would end up with a satisfaction score, but you wouldn't not understand why is it that customer gave you that satisfaction score. So the comment box gives the customer the opportunity to explain in their own what they're having and why the satisfaction may not be as high or why it is high. So even with best practices, again, when you're trying to learn what drives satisfaction, really provides the rich data that really tells the story behind the numbers. Thank you. All right, then analyzing customer feedback. So how to improve customer satisfaction. So at the end of the day, via your customer satisfaction surveys, you're going to end up quantitative and qualitative data. The quantitative data are kind of the closed-ended questions like a rating scale, yes/no question, multiple choice questions. This all yields quantitative data, which is suitable for statistical testing. Then you have your qualitative data that are the comment box, the unstructured, the verbatims that people are leaving that really help provide the story and the richness to why people are rating certain questions a certain way. So the combination of the two is essential. Cannot kind of draw that in enough. And the next step really is analysis plan. So a big tip, and what I found really helpful is starting with an analysis plan. Definitely, again, going back to what is the objective of the analysis? What are you trying to solve for? What questions are you trying to answer with the data? And what are you trying, and how are you going to do it? So have a plan around. It's really helpful when analyzing your customer feedback. Then the importance of storytelling. And this is something that is really, really critical. Again, different audiences, just like here, a dense spreadsheet is not really going to convey a story. However, a PowerPoint, which doesn't have numbers in it, is really not going to convince your more data kind of savvy stakeholders. So definitely a balance between the two in conveying your story. As you think about your story, again, going back to definitely having the objective of what is your story trying to tell, what is the main message of your story. Ensure that the story is concise, visually appealing. And then a technique that I use all the time and just which really kind of works and resonates with audiences is to use the voice of the customer. So recordings, videos, comments from your customer, nothing really conveys a point and really has that kind of power behind it than actually using the very voice of the customer in doing so. So great, that's a great tip in using that in your presentations. So then the kind of this, so how to improve customer satisfaction. So this kind of brings it somewhat, and this really is being committed to continuous improvement. Really avoid the all listen and no action trapping, or I would say an obsession by many on tracking a number and not really being really committed to change and changing experiences. The listen, interpret, act, and monitor framework is a really helpful framework in driving a commitment to continuous improvement. So the idea behind this is that you listen to your customers, you then interpret that data, and then you act on that data. And then the fourth step, which is really critical, is then you monitor. So based on the changes that you have implemented on the experiences, you then monitor to see if those changes have indeed made a difference to customer satisfaction and whatever else you may be measuring. So critical and a really, really helpful framework to follow. At the end of the day, you're not going to get any ROI just listening to customers. At the end of the day, what really drives kind of like big results is being committed, not really driving improvement of experiences. So as I mentioned right out of this presentation, just having that commitment that yes, you're going to listen, you're going to interpret and analyze that data, but really importantly, that you're going to act on that customer feedback and drive changes to create, improvement in the experiences, and those improvement in the experiences will have happier customers.
Well, all right. That was a bit quicker than I expected, but still a lot of great information. I kind of wanted to share this real quick at the end. We kind of went through a CSAT process last year. And as you were kind of going through some of those steps, some of the questions that we originally drafted and some of the ways that we set up our original CSAT survey definitely got course corrected with your help, Assunta. And it actually drove one of our most successful CSAT initiatives ever in the community, which did lead to a lot of really great change to a lot of aspects of our community. One in particular being the way that we handle product feedback. A lot of the messages that we received from our customers in the community on product feedback really kind of guided our hand in what we needed to do. And it identified that it was a major kind of pain point for a lot of our community members. And we kind of like, after that whole song and dance was done, we were just like, wow, this was really important for us to do, because if we didn't do this, we would have never heard our customers. We would have never known that they were so upset with the process overall. And then we would have never taken the steps we took to get us to where we're at this year, where product feedback is working, it's being engaged with a lot of our PMs, and Dave is actually one of the people who's in charge of it in the community. It's like a whole different monster at this point, and it's working, I think, for everyone involved, where it really wasn't working for customers in the past, and that was its biggest issue.